Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another one of our Wednesday afternoon Doctoral Academy talks. Now, you will have noticed, if you've gone to look at this, is going to be speaking to us about ethics and responsibility. He's an old friend of mine, again, an ex-colleague and good old friend, and I'm going to give you just a brief introduction. He sent me a brief introduction. It was 3 pages long. I'm not going to read it all, Emil. Professor Openness received his PhD in 1976 at the Charles University in Prague, in what was then the Republic of Czechoslovakia. He continued to work in Prague, both in academia and in the military. And in 1985, he received an award from the President of the Republic of Czechoslovakia for the implementation of a system of cooperation between the university and industry. In 1993, he came to South Africa and he started working in what was then the University of Natal. And in 2004, when we were already the University of KwaZulu-Natal, he came to the Maritzburg Genetics Department as head of School of Genetics, Biochemistry, and Microbiology. And I think if I remember correctly, we started there within about a month of each other. Emil, I started in May and you started in September, something like that. We started there together and we worked together very well for a good number of years. And then in 2012, Prof. Openness retired, but he has not been sitting doing nothing in his retirement. He is a research professor at the Mangosuthu University of Technology and is also a visiting professor at Charles University, the engineering department in Prague. So he's gone back to his alma mater. So thanks very much, Emil, for agreeing to speak. And I'm going to hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very kindly introducing me. And I will move ahead with my presentation. First, I want to stress that I don't expect that everything what I will present here is true, absolutely true. And I will welcome if you will disagree with some statement presenting in, or you can see in my presentation, because, you know, ethics and responsibility, it is like, it is very, very hot area where we, which we can investigate from a different side. But definitely, ethics and responsibility play an important role in research, in life of, in our life of researcher, because they are dealing, ethics and responsibility is linked directly to our research. And what is a result of our research is their data. So it means locating ethics in data science, accountability in global and distributed knowledge production system. So the distribution, data science has a global nature and creates some challenges for evaluating the quality, import, and potential impact of the data and knowledge claims being produced. This has a I can say significant consequences for the management and oversight of responsibilities and accountabilities in data science. In particular, it makes it difficult to determine who is responsible for what output and how such responsibilities related to each other, what participation means and which accountabilities it involves with regard to data ownerships, donation, sharing, as well as data analysis, reuse, and also authorship.
Emil, can I interrupt? Have you moved on your screen? Because we still
try. My slides are not. Now it's moving.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
Yeah. The ethical impact of data science. What we doing with our results? We are processing results. We are disseminating this result, and we try to interpret those results. Yeah. If we're looking further, what we are doing with data science, there is a evaluation, the quality, there is a import, and there is on the end potential impact of the data and knowledge claims being produced. So contemporary research activities focusing on the processing, dissemination, and interpretation of large database. Yeah, the first is if we create some umbrella under term data science, it is usually system which distributed this knowledge production. Firstly, there is a strong reliance on web-based technologies supporting data storage, integration, mining, analysis, such as a digital data infrastructure and algorithms. The second is the involvement of several types of expertise in the data processing at hand, ranging from the field-specific, specific knowledge required for data interpretation to computer and information science, programming, statistics, and skills in visualization. The third is the use of widely different research location, environments, capabilities, ranging from data collection by non-scientists within citizen science initiative to activate taking place in public and also private research establishments with diverse specialization. And the fourth is the existence of deep interdependencies, towards not necessarily cooperation or even direct communication among the institutes, governments, industries, and networks that are involved in developing and or using some infrastructures, reusable data and algorithm and common standards. The distributed nature of data science creates challenges for attempts to evaluate any of its components, and particularly the quality, import, and potential impact of data being disseminated. This is even more evident when considering the globalized scale on which data production, how we are involved in this world, and how we are able to circulate, reuse all those data. Difficulties in ethical evaluation and responsibilities. Yes. We can focus on difficulties in ethical evaluation and oversights that emerge from the ways in which data science work is performed and the extent in which it's distributed across vast, diverse, and geographically dispersed research networks. Yeah, so it means, firstly, the enforcement of ethical oversights over dissemination and use of big and open data, which is grounded on the importance of encouraging, firstly, critical thinking and ethical reflection among the researcher. Yeah, then the importance of this critical thinking and ethical reflection should be an integral part of data science. Then is definition of responsibilities as a moral obligation to ensure that a particular task is adequately performed. Yeah? And accountability, yeah, denotes the duty to justify a given action to others and be answerable, yeah, responsible for the results of the action after it has been performed. Thus, an individual whose actions or failure to act directly contribute to the producing a given outcome is typically regarded as a bearing responsibility for the outcome, particularly if performing such action is tied to the individual's position in society. It's very important to accept this fact. Much empirical research within science and technologies studies has focused on digital infrastructure. Yeah, we do know today that data travel to new sites and are integrated and reused within or beyond the same discipline. Yeah, there is a huge interaction between different disciplines. Yeah, study of the different strategies used to disseminate and reused, for instance, morphological, biometric, genomic, and environmental data by researchers working in biology, biomedicine, environmental science, maybe oceanography. There is really a huge interest about it. And similarly, then is another problem. The technical decision on data formats and management can affect which type of laboratory environment, given its personnel, hardware, internet access, and instrumentation, or is not able to work with the tools in question. The situation is sometimes highly problematic for low resource research environments that produce, on other sides, key data on a given, for instance, disease, crop, or compound, but do not have the capability to engage with existing digital tools and share the data with the wider research community. This situation generates some visible confusion concerning how contributors to data science can be made accountable for their contributions and to whom, and how their respective roles and responsibilities can be described and related to each other, given the number of people involved in the process. And then we are coming to responsibility. The distributed nature of data science, of our results, yeah, seems to create problems for any attempt to identify responsibilities for specific implications of technical decision taken when processing data. Yeah? But all individuals involved need to take some responsibility for potential implication in relation to their specific roles. If we look on this responsibility, we have a data providers. Yeah, it's, for instance, if we are working on some problems, and also data users. Yeah, data providers should be trained and that we are able to evaluate the consequences of disseminating specific types of data. Data users, also such are researchers that try to reuse existing data sets from online database and should be trained, and they should to consider the history and potential significance of the data before and during analysis. equally crucial is the recognition that individuals with different expertise, viewpoints, and interests will assess the ethical significance and implication of our work in different and potentially complementary ways. Moment, why we are not moving further? Yeah,
we have moved on. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Now it's coming to responsibilities. Yeah. So it means if we are come back a bit moment, yeah, then is a question: what is the ethical responsibility in research? Yeah. One, I put just it in 4 points. Yeah. Ensure the anonymity of participant. Yeah. It's conditio sine qua non. Ensure the confidentiality of information. Yeah. Respect the private life of particular person. Yeah. And also operate in transparency. Yeah. So it means sometimes to identify responsibilities for specific implication of technical decision when sometimes it's coming late only when we are processing this data. But all individuals involved need to take some responsibility for potential implication in relation to their specific roles. Yeah, this is absolutely conditio sine qua non. Yeah, responsibility. Why we need responsibility in research? What are the responsibilities of student and researcher? Yeah, so it means there is a set of professional standards for scientists, and these standards are created by institution or by private company or by government. Yeah, what are responsibilities of students and researchers? Yeah, so it means that we must choose topics of our interest very carefully. Yeah, and pick a topic that truly interests us. Yeah, and now I am coming to responsibility part. We have a responsibility. PhD students, yes, but we have a responsibility also of supervisor, and we have also responsibility somebody who give us the money, sponsors. Yeah, if we are looking of responsibilities of PhD students, yeah, I put it in 3 points, maybe you will find more. Yeah, to commit adequate time and effort to the project, to display initiative, yeah, to resolve problems relating to the research, and to manage this work efficiently. This is the responsibility of PhD student. Yeah, what is the responsibility of supervisor in science? Yeah, the key role is assist and support students through their academic studies. Yeah, so it means to be supervisor and don't ignore my responsibility towards my PhD students. It is a crime. Sorry. Yeah, if I am able with my indifferent behavior maybe destroyed life of very promising researcher. And then it's also sponsor responsibilities. Yeah, so it means if I am sponsor, I will not just put money on the table and say, okay, take it how much you want and goodbye. No, as me as a sponsor, I will create a team which will provide a good review. Yeah, look, what is a supervisor? What is a qualification of supervisor? Yeah, what are the policies and procedures of particular institution? I will monitor not only research, particular persons, the supervisor and PhD student, but also I will be very curious how it is with research in general at particular institution. Yeah, and also if there is a research special in medical science or maybe in social science, I will attract or I will put in this review panel some community representatives. It means that this community will be involved on the end and will gain some also some reward for participation. And on the end, as is usual, I will request a solid publication in peer review journals. In general, research responsibilities I put in this, I know, in 10 point. I think it is acceptable for all of us. Protect human participant, conduct research according to universal ethic principles, use a best possible scientific method, obtain appropriate informed consent, respect confidentiality, yeah, then keep pace, respect the protocol, how I said the protocol, yeah, then that I have an approval of ethics committee, that I am able to follow all ethics committee requirements, yeah, yeah, provide agreed treatment or assistance, support long-term interest of participant, especially when we are linked to maybe some community, yeah, and on the end communicate the results of this study. Yes, responsibility are the distribute nature of data science creates problems to identify, as I told, responsibilities. But all individuals involved in distribution, yeah, must take some responsibility, yeah, and crucial is also to recognition that individuals with different expertise, viewpoints, and interest will assess the ethical significance and implication. That is not only my friends who has the same interest I have got will create some reference about my work, that also will be involved people say how they have another point of view on my research or on my activities, previous and today activities in research. Yeah. Then from responsibility, we are coming to ethical. Yeah. Ethical conduct. Yeah. What is ethical conduct? Is first question. Yeah. Means doing the right thing. Yeah. Ethical conduct means that you are able to conduct yourself with other, including employees, contractors, clients. Is ethics a science of conduct? Ethics is traditionally regarded as a science of rightness and wrongness, yeah, goodness and badness of human conduct. And what is example of ethical conduct? Examples of ethical behavior at workplace includes obeying company rules, effective communication, responsibility, accountability, professionalism, and so on and so on. Yeah. What are the, then you can put a question. What are differences between ethics and conduct? Yeah. Code of ethics is set of principles based on value and morals. Yeah. Code of conduct is set of rules and regulations. Yeah. There is a difference between these two terminus technicus. Then what is ethics in research? Why is it important? Yeah. When majority of people are thinking of ethics or morals, there are some rules between right and wrong. we can find in history and in literature a lot of rules. The golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. A code of professional conduct, like Hippocratic oath. Yeah. Then it can be a religious, yeah, version of ethics. 10 commandments, and also we can touch Confucius with his wise aphorisms. Yeah, this is what I think. Yeah, then we have ethical norms. Yeah, so it means there is also are so ubiquitous that one might be tempted to regard them as a simple common sense. Yeah, so it means there is also different. If we even respect common ethical norms, but this value and life experience can navigate us to different way. As I mentioned here, if we will agree that murder is wrong, yeah, but then we can be in a huge fight with regards abortion. You are witness today what's happened in USA when the abortion clinics are under siege, for instance. Yeah, we do now how react different governments, not within US states, particular states, Texas and Carolina and so on, but also in the European Union, when it's a very conservative Poland government against very liberal, for instance, Swiss, Denmark, or Dutch government. Yeah? And now we are coming to code and policies for research ethics. Yeah, so it means there is an importance of ethics for the conduct of research. Yeah, what I want to stress in this that professional association, government, universities, or different institutes, private institutes, they have adopted specific codes, rules, and policies relating to research and to ethics. Therefore, some of these codes and policies for research ethics can be variable in different environment, for instance, and in different institutions. And if we move further, yeah, then we are coming to objective in science. What is objective in science? We have to collecting, recording, analyzing, interpreting, sharing, and storing data. Yeah, this is I think, objective for us, for scientists. Yeah, and then are coming from this responsibility to ethical dilemmas. Yeah, in this part, I want to discuss of ethical standards by exploring some of the ethical dilemmas, problems, and questions that arise in the interpretation and application of this principle. Yeah, I put here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 ethical dilemmas what came to my mind. I will start with honesty in research. Yeah, it may be useful to say a few words about the different kinds of fabrication and falsification that can occur, since there are different ways that people can commit these cardinal sins of science. I take it as a cardinal sins of science. Yeah? For our purposes, we can distinguish between dishonesty in collecting data and dishonesty in recording data. Yeah? Dishonesty in collecting of data, collecting of our results, occurs when scientists construct artifacts of forgeries, then produce fabricated results. When this kind of dishonesty occurs, the entire experiment or test is in shame. Dishonesty in recording data occurs when scientists conduct legitimate tests or experiments, but then dishonestly report the results by making them up, fabrication, or changing them, falsification. Thus, fabrication can occur in collecting or recording data. Falsification maybe only occurs in recording data. I put two examples. When I was a student in 70s, previous century, I want to stress, yeah, I was involved from students' time in immunogenetics. And I remember that during the early 70s, there was a scientist, excellent scientist, no question about his scientific capacity and capability. Yeah, his name was William Summerlee. Yeah, he conducted skin transplantation experiments on mice and eventually joined the prestige this Kettering Institute in New York. Organ and tissue transplantation in mammals is usually unsuccessful unless the donor and recipient are genetically identical. You do know it. What is problem? Problem is this set of problem is that our immune system is able to recognize what is a self and non-self. Yeah, so it means every cell in our mammalian body contains histocompatible antigens on its surface. These proteins, known as antigens, have a complex genetically coded structure. The immune system will attack cells that don't have this higher structure, recognized as a self, and donor and recipient are not genetically identical. Okay, we can suppress this immune system. What was idea of Summerlee? Summerlee hoped to offer a new method of organ and tissue transplantation that would overcome some of these difficulties. Summerlee's approach was based on the idea that if tissue are removed from donor and cultured in a nutrient solution for a period of time, they may lose some of their HLA antigen, and making them less likely to be recognized as non-self by a recipient immune system. Yeah, Summerlee claims that he uses approach successfully to graft skin from genetically unrelated mice. In his experiments, he grafted pieces of skin from black-haired mice on white-haired mice. However, it was discovered in March 1974 that Summerlee has used a black pen to color white mice and fabricate successful results. Yeah, it was discovered by his lab assistant. He noticed that the black-colored hair could be washed away with alcohol. Yeah, Summerlee soon confessed, and he was temporarily suspended until a peer review committee could investigate the incident. The committee concluded that Summerlee was guilty of misconduct and that there were irregularities in his previous research. Yeah? The committee recommended that Summerlee be given a leave of absence and then he correct the irregularities in his previous research. Yeah? But the committee also concluded that the lab director should be held partially responsible since he supervised Summerlee research and even co-authored some of papers with him. Yeah, so we can easily see the dishonesty in this case. Yeah, this is his first part when I saw that is fabrication of result. Another is misinterpretation result. This is also linked to absolutely top researcher at this time, and this researcher, yeah, was Mr. Millikan, Nobel Prize winner in 1923. what was his misrepresentation? He repeated experiment with water droplets were dropped between two charged plates, which was experiment on another Professor Regener. Yeah, so it means this experiment. I will not run into this experiment, but this experiment had one main difficulty. Yeah, the water droplets evaporate too quickly. Yeah, one of Millikan's graduate students, PhD students, I think his name was Fletcher, suggested that the experiment be performed with oil droplets. And Millikan switched from water drops to oil drops. Millikan graded his results from best to fair, yeah, evaluation, and wrote down some reasons for his assessments of the data in his laboratory notebook. However, in his 1913 paper on his oil drop experiments, he didn't include these comments, but even more, he didn't include 49 out of 140 observations that were judged as only fair. Yeah, so it means Millikan's paper reported no fractional charges on the oil droplets, but exact multiples of charges with other papers on the same experiments had reported fractional charges. What is this? The next effect of excluding 49 drops was that Millikan's paper was more, how to say, elegant, clear, and convincing than other papers on the subject. If Millikan had included the recalcitrant data, he might not have won the Nobel Prize. By the way, Millikan also didn't acknowledge Fletcher's contribution to the paper. Yeah, so it means Millikan practices science during an era where standards of evidence and proof were not as rigorous as they are today. Millikan's conduct might be judged as unethical by today's standards, but it would have been regarded as acceptable by the standard of his own time. Yeah, Millikan was an established scientist. Yeah, who had a good understanding of his experimental apparatus. He had a good scientific judgment, and he followed standard research practices on one side. On other side, he misrepresented data. Then we can, before I concluding this part, I will mention some other kinds of dishonesty. First, sometimes scientists include some misinformation in papers they submit to science journals. For example, a manuscript might not accurately report the details of experiment. Yeah, scientists sometimes stretch the true or even lie when applying for government grants, and and they also engage in a fair amount of lobbying for big science project. Some scientists may even fabricate, falsify, or misrepresent preliminary results, or lie when reporting their results to the funding organization. Are these and other kinds of dishonesty unethical? It is easy to understand why someone might include some misinformation in a paper or lie on a grant application, since these behaviors can be viewed as a response to a competitive research environment. Dishonesty in all of its form is harmful to objective inquiry. Scientists who include misinformation in their papers hamper the peer review process, and they may also promulgate errors. The proper response to the fears of having one's idea stolen be a referee is to take steps to promote ethical refereeing and peer review. Yeah, so it means, finally, I will also mention that there are various other ways that scientists may act dishonestly when they publish their research, such as plagiarism, misrepresentation, or publication of publication status. Yeah? When we are moving, where is a misconduct in science? What we should understand under misconduct of science? Serious deviations from the principle of honesty in science have been labeled misconduct of science. Different organizations developed a different definition of misconduct of science. There are many types of ethical questionable practices that can occur in science, such as abusing statistical technique, exploiting subordinates, or failing to keep adequate records. Yeah. There is a so-called third category, other misconducts, which includes, for instance, behavior we can accept and is not unique to science, such as harassment of individuals, misuse of funds, a violation of government regulation, or what is extremely shameful vandalism in a laboratory. Then I move to another. It is error and self-deception. Yeah, dishonesty and error can have similar results. They undermine the search for objective knowledge. It is notoriously difficult to determine a person's motives or intention. Yeah, we can use several sources of evidence to classify an action as dishonest and not simple error. Knows there is not simple error. Yeah, standards relating to errors must be, I think, discipline specific, since different disciplines aspire to different degree of reliability, objectivity. Yeah, what we do know, most scientific journals routinely publish correction for previously published papers. Since most scientists make mistakes during their careers, I did mistake as well. Scientists are willing to tolerate and excuse honest mistakes, provided that these mistakes are corrected. However, the research community should not take some soft attitude towards scientists who continually, and I do know some, my colleague, who continually makes mistakes or who fail to admit or correct their mistakes. Since these researchers should be regarded as careless. Yeah. Although scientists attempt to be skeptical, all of us, rigorous, honest, critical, and objective, they may fail to see their own errors as a result of self-deception. Several cases illustrate these kinds of error. Self-deception is usually a combination of carelessness and wishful thinking. Researchers want so much for an hypothesis to be true that they do not subject it to rigorous testing or careful scrutiny. Yeah, there was a interesting case with Pons and Fleischmann. Wanted to believe in cold fusion for obvious reason. If they could perfect the process, they would obtain a great deal of money, status, and prestige, but they failed to subject their experiments to rigorous tests and careful scrutiny. For example, one of the key results, data of their experiment was that they were getting more heat out of the system than they were putting into it. This heat was measured near the electrode where cold fusion was allegedly taking place. However, other scientists have analyzed the thermodynamics of cold fusion and have claimed that ordinary chemicals reaction will cause heat build up near this electrode if the solution is not mixed properly. Yeah, so it's just example how we are able to create self deception. Yeah, then we can scientists have to be judged according to the research practices that are accepted during their time, unfortunately. Yeah, then we are coming to bias in research. Yeah, to distinguish between biases and errors. First, biases are systematic flaws in research. Biases they are like rotten apples, can spoil the whole research barrel. Errors may have isolated effect. Second, biases can be highly controversial. Scientists can usually agree when research contains errors, but it is more difficult to reach agreement concerning biases. One person's bias may be another person's valid assumption or methodology. It can be difficult to detect sometimes biases in research because one often needs an independent source of evidence or criticism to detect. A third, since it is often too difficult to agree on when or whether research is biased, may not be appropriate to regard biased research as ethical. Biases often results from what is very important today. Biases often results from political, social, and economic aspects of science. I would like to mention at this point that freedom and openness in research can help science to eliminate some of its biases. And then we are moving further, conflict of interest. Sometimes scientific objectivity can be compromised not by error, bias, self-deception, or dishonesty, but by conflict of interest. Conflict of interest occurs when a person's personal or financial interest conflict with their professional or institutional obligations. So it means it changes objectives, decisions, and judgments. Person who has a conflict of interest may make a variety of errors. We should also notice that there is a difference between a conflict of interest and conflict of commitment. A conflict of commitment occurs when a person has professional or institutional obligation that may conflict. For example, a university professor who is also president of maybe state's board of pharmacy, some company, have obligation to the university and the board that and to the board, and they can be a conflict. The board could take a great deal of the professor's time and energy and prevent him or her from being an effective teacher at the university. I think there is a thorny question how we distinguish between real and apparent conflict of interest. The proper response to an apparent or real conflict of interest is to first disclose the conflict to the people who should know about it. If the conflict is real and not merely apparent, then the next step is to avoid making or even influencing decisions that involve this conflict. For example, the city councillor or member should disclose his conflict of interest. He should not vote on the proposed, for instance, zoning changes, nor should be influenced the vote. He should remove himself from debate, for instance, if it is in his area. Yeah, since most people have economic or personal interests that can conflict with a professional or institutional obligation, it is virtually impossible to avoid apparent conflict of interest. Yeah? When a conflict of interest occurs in science, they can compromise the objectivity of scientific judgments and decisions, such as analysis of interpretation of data, the evaluation of scientific papers and research proposals, and hiring and promotion. Yeah? So it means, ideally, scientists, like other professionals, should avoid all conflict of interest, and they should monitor apparent conflicts. However, practical realities may prevent scientists from meeting these ideal standards. Research often yields financial rewards, and it is often funded by business. Given these fiscal and economic realities, we can expect that conflict of interest will often arise also in science. Yeah? Then openness. It may come as a surprise to some students to learn that openness didn't always prevail in science. Yeah? During, just we look into history, during the late Middle Age and Renaissance, scientists kept secrets in order to prevent their ideas from being stolen or avoid religious persecution. Yeah, previous century, Soviet scientists kept their discussion about Mendelian genetics secret in order to avoid political persecution. Yeah, although today scientists are not likely to keep secret in order to avoid religious or political persecution, there are some powerful threats to opponents or to openness, such as a rampant careerism and economic self-interest. Yeah, so it means there are several other reasons for secrecy. First, scientists are justified not to revealing the names and institution affiliation. Yeah. Second, scientists are justified in suppressing the names, address, and other personal identifiers of human subject. Third, scientists may be justified in sharing ideas with only a limited audience, such a group of specialists and particular field. Not all scientific theories need to be reported in the popular press. And then we are coming to data management, where we start. Data should be stored in order. Scientists need to check their own work. Critics or reviewers can scrutinize and verify research. Yeah. Other scientists can use original data. Yeah. And data or scientific resources that scientists should not mismanage. Yeah. So it means this is data can be stored in many different forms: on paper, computer, diskette, tapes, microfilm, slides, videotape, and so on. Data should also be well organized in order to ensure easy access and transmission. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Thank you very much, Emil. Gosh, I'm really pleased that you clearly took ethics from just that ethics application for the research through the whole research process to even what will happen after the research is done, after you've completed your research, after you have published. And I think it brings home things that we are going to have to become aware of is this whole drive towards open science. And I know that open science could have ethical issues. I know the Academy of Sciences of South Africa are looking at open science and what do we do with patient data when it comes to open science. The whole ethics of research is liquid. It changes as you put forward. It changes in your time. So our time now is a time of big databases. how we've got to take care of our data
Yes.
to make sure that it's accessible and what should be accessible. So we've got 5 minutes. I'm going to open the floor for questions or comments. If you put a hand up, if you can see under reactions at the bottom of your page, there you can put a hand up, and we'll let you ask your question in the order that we see the hands coming up. And as I mentioned before, one of the important issues for getting your doctorateness, a doctoral attribute, is understanding the ethics of science. Are there any questions or comments from the floor?
I think it is a quite for long discussion in detail, and because it is a very hot area, really, today. There is a huge competition between scientists, huge competition between donors as well. And then is another problem, political problem. We don't know that there is an interest, don't share internationally some knowledge with another state, another government. So scientists sometimes are sitting on very hot plate, seriously, very hot plate.
And you also brought home the fact that scientists have to think about ethics at every step along the way, right from conforming to your institution's rules.
Yes.
I mean, it's right through behaving in a certain way, and it all boils down to doing the right thing. But so often people define doing the right thing differently. And there are some people who genuinely, in our government, who genuinely do not see an ethical issue with getting a tender and making a fat profit off it. They would see that as a business opportunity. People like you and I would think, no, we would never, ever do that. So the point is that people's personal ethics are also different, and we can't assume that everybody's ethics are the same. So when we are researchers, there are institutional ethics that we also have to abide by. David, you've got a raised hand. David, go ahead.
Yes, Colin, thanks so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Kelly.
Okay, yeah, so I just want to appreciate Emil's very deep and profound presentation. It was quite informative in terms of the principles of ethics in research. I want to possibly make to just get an insight from you, Emil. Like, you know, in cases of health emergencies, for example, the COVID-19 pandemic that we have been going through, I've noted most institutional review boards, they sort of waiver the review process. Some would just give a one-day turnaround, you know, to promote agency in research responding to, you know, this pandemic and stuff. How do you see that in terms of upholding the ethics, as I feel like there is a compromise in the quality and, you know, I don't know if you are getting my question, but how do you see that window for wavering research processes, and, you know, when the protocols don't go the normal review process under normal circumstances?
Yes, thank you for it is very difficult question. You know, I can answer a very diplomatic that extraordinary situation need an extraordinary approach, but definitely all these steps they were done is a bit compromise, and they compromise a normal research steps or normal steps in evaluation of research of some project. Yeah, so we apologize everything. It is extraordinary. It is a very difficult time. We have to speed. But on other sides, there is a problem. There is really a problem with such type of research. Yeah, but it's very difficult to, you will have on one side a lot of people say will support views that we have to bypass some basic rules, yeah, because of extraordinary situation. On other sides will be a conservative part, which I am part of this conservative part, when I will insist we have to keep these rules. Yeah. So, and then are coming politicians and do a decision. No, what to do?
If I can also contribute to this point, I serve on BREC. And what happened with us is we were asked to attend to applications as a priority for COVID, but in no way to compromise the quality of our review. So when things came to BREC, they underwent the normal review that they would have done. We were just asked to make it a priority. So if we were sent a review, we were asked to have a turnaround of 2 to 3 days rather than the normal couple of weeks that they give us. So my conscience is clear that our university certainly did not allow anything through that ought not to have gone through ethically. Elliot, did I see you have a hand up? Are there any, I'm not sure if I'm seeing everybody's hand that comes up. Okay, I don't think there are any more hands, and we have gotten to our hour. Elliot just thanked us for a very comprehensive view of ethics, in research integrity, just doing the right thing as scientists. And thank you for that, Emil. Thank you for covering this broad spectrum. I think when a doctoral student looks at ethics now, anybody who attended this course, who watches this video going forward, will see that ethics in research goes a lot further than doing the protocol and getting it through BREC. So thank you very, very much for your time. And we hope to have you present again very soon. Thanks, everybody. Next week, we will be talking about the process from research question to the protocol, and Professor Richard Heft is going to be the main speaker there. I'll come in just for a few minutes. And for the PhD support group, the next 2 Tuesdays, we are looking at mentorship. And I think that's very important. We find many students find themselves not being able to swim in the deep waters, and often a mentorship relationship will help. So for those 2 consecutive Tuesdays, we'll be talking about mentorship. So thank you, everybody, for attending, and we'll see you all again next week. And again, thank you very much, Professor Cormith, for this wonderful and comprehensive talk. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you for your patience.
Do you share the presentations or what?
Yes.
They all go onto the UKZN YouTube channel. Okay. So you can look for them on the UKZN YouTube channel. Within 48 hours, you can find them.
No, okay. That's fine.
I don't know. I see you closing up. I put a question in the chat.
Yes. Oh, okay. Your question in the chat?
Yes, I was asking a question about, for the professor, how would you go about demonstrating good ethical behavior when seeking to obtain data, say, from your own organization? Like, let's say I'm at the National Hospital, and I would like to use some of the data that we collect for my PhD. You know, I just want to know from the professor's experience and you know, experience with students and so on, how would you suggest we go about demonstrating good ethical behavior in that regard?
If I understand well, you are for your PhD work, you are collecting some information from a patient, yeah, from hospital. Yeah?
Yes, pretty much.
So you have to, I don't know where is this hospital. If this hospital here, you need a approval from patient in English and maybe in Zulu. Yeah, because it can happen that some patient will claim something after times they didn't understand well in English. Yeah, definitely. You need submit everything to, from my point of view, to ethic committee, your protocol, which include this part where a patient agree to use his data from clinical investigation or part of his tissue, for instance, blood. Yeah.
Okay.
Please
Thank you.
be very careful. Put everything in protocol and run it very careful with your supervisor via ethical committee of university. Yeah. Be very careful.
Thank you, Professor.
Andre, where would your study be carried out?
I live in the Caribbean, so my study would be right in Antigua. Yes, the Caribbean country.
Okay. Are you registered to do your PhD at the University of KwaZulu-Natal?
Oh, yes, certainly, certainly.
Okay, so you would have to get ethics through the university. Then you'd also have to probably share that ethics outcome with the institution. Yes.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
are you looking at data that has already been captured?
Yes, fairly.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's a retrospective chart review.
Yes.
Yeah. So you would apply for your ethics based on a retrospective chart review, and for that you would have an expedited review.
Yes.
Once
Okay.
you get the outcome, once you've got ethics approval from UKZN, you share that with your institution, and you must follow whatever processes that they have in place. And I wouldn't know what they are. I think you need to find out what those are.
But
yes, sir.
definitely follow procedure, university and hospital as well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you very much. You live in a very beautiful place. We'll come and visit you one day.
Oh, yes. Yes. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a lovely evening.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Prof.
Bye.
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 Bye.